King Anime Recap here. Today, we will go over the action sci-fi drama anime, Vivy, Fluoride Ice Song. Watch out for the spoilers ahead. A singing AI, Vivy, puts on a performance in front of a small audience at the AI-themed Neoland amusement park. Afterwards, she encounters Momoko Kirishima, who tells her to put all her heart into her songs, so more people come to see her. Just as she was about to put on her next performance in front of nobody, she collapses. While unconscious, she enters the archive, an AI aggregate database where she meets Matsumoto. The cube-like AI announces that it's from 100 years into the future. He then asks Vivy for help with altering the course of history to prevent a war between humans and AI that is set to happen in exactly 100 years. After she regains consciousness, Matsumoto transforms into a teddy bear, and he warns her about the events that are about to occur. But she refuses to cooperate because her mission is to sing in order to make others happy. However, after witnessing one of Matsumoto's prophecies coming true, and saving the assemblyman Aikawa from an explosion hidden inside one of the park's trash bins, she accepts the mission. Matsumoto then informs her about Aikawa's assassin at night. So, she rushes to intercept the attackers from the anti-AI terrorist group, Toke. Matsumoto then informs Vivy of the dire consequence that Aikawa's death, as well as the imminent destruction of the AI company building they are currently in, would jumpstart a massive leap in AI development and evolution that will lead to the future war. Saving Aikawa's life means that there will be no chance that AI naming law will be passed. Vivy then attempts to escort Aikawa out of the building with Toke in pursuit, but is shot with an anti-logic bullet causing her to malfunction. Before Toke is able to finish off Aikawa, Matsumoto is then able to hack into their glasses, and through those glasses, he fakes Aikawa's death, causing them to believe that the mission is complete. At the front entrance, Matsumoto activates some of the bombs to stall the pursuers. However, they are ambushed with more attackers stationed outside the entrance. Vivy then saves one of the attackers, named Yugo, from falling debris, despite being an enemy. She claims that her mission is to spread happiness and to not kill anyone. The guy is a scumbag though and tries to kill her anyways, but before he can do so, he passes out. With the entrance blocked, Aikawa panics and he reveals the truth. He doesn't even care about AI, he only cares about votes. At the same time, Matsumoto berates her and asks, why does he have to have such an incompetent partner? But then, Vivy rips off her top, and this changes everything. They escape by collapsing the building to force the Toke attackers to flee. They rush to the roof to jump off of it into a neighboring building. Cue the superhero landing. Shortly after rescuing Aikawa, Vivy finds out that the passenger plane Momoka is flying on is about to explode due to a fuel leak. But before she can save her, Matsumoto prevents her from stopping the explosion, saying it would unnecessarily alter the timeline. Fast forward 15 years since Vivy saved Aikawa, and more people have come to see her performances. While the AI naming law ultimately did not pass, another legislation that granted AIs with even more rights did. One day, Matsumoto reappears before Vivy and assigns her a new mission to prevent the Space Hotel Sunrise from crashing to Earth when its AI owner goes rogue. Also, fan service? While still bitter about Momoka's death, Vivy agrees to help again. However, after infiltrating Sunrise and meeting Estella, she is unconvinced that Estella is the culprit. A fellow AI employee, Leclerc, warns her about the rumor that Estella killed the hotel's previous human owner. She tells her not to get too close to Estella, but this is shortly proven false as Vivy learns from Estella herself that he actually died in an accident. As Vivy continues to investigate, she stumbles across Momoka's younger sister, Izuka, who recognizes her as Diva. Meanwhile, Leclerc gives Estella an ID to crash the hotel, revealing that they are actually cooperating. But as she walks away, Estella suddenly kills her. Izuka encounters Vivy again and asks if she's Diva, but Vivy tells her that she's mistaken her for someone else. The two then run into Estella in a hallway. However, Vivy realizes she's an imposter, and the fake Estella suddenly attacks the two, but they manage to escape. Matsumoto then reveals that Toke has infiltrated Sunrise, and concludes they're the ones behind the crash, while framing Estella. At the docking bay, Leclerc's body is found, and Yuzuka starts to cry because she's scared. She also really hoped she was the same Diva that her sister left. To fight Toke, Vivy has Matsumoto install a combat program into her. She then finds and rescues the real Estella, who deduces the imposter's identity. Her twin sister Elizabeth, who was disposed of early on. Meanwhile, Elizabeth uses Estella's ID to gain system access and pushes Sunrise out of orbit. It is then revealed that Yugo's plan is to save all humans on board except him and his own group. However, she disagrees with his plan to sacrifice himself in the group to allow the civilians to escape, so she takes him out. She then has Toke evacuate before confronting Vivy and Estella. While Vivy subdues Elizabeth, the crash cannot be stopped. So Estella evacuates the guests into escape pods while staying behind herself to detach Sunrise's modules to lessen the impact of the crash. While doing so, Elizabeth regains consciousness and, having her memories come back, aids Estella before perishing together. Estella is then seen broadcasting her singing before the final goodbye to ease tensions within the escape pods. 5 years after the Sunrise incident, AI development has progressed, much more compared to the original timeline, as has Vivy's idle career. Deeming the AI progress to be out of control, Matsumoto reappears, but this time in his cube form. He gives Vivy a new mission: disable the unmanned AI factory named Metal Float. To do so, they help ex-Toke member Tatsuya Saiki by defending him from 2 unmarked vehicles chasing him. After defeating the enemies and saving his life, they ask him for a favor in return. They ask for help with Metal Float, so then he procures a virus that will allegedly shut down the facility. It is then revealed that he too wants to take down the island. At the same time, Vivy meets Saiki's AI attendant, Grace, and Matsumoto explains that those two were the first human-AI couple in the original timeline, which now never happened due to their timeline alterations. Vivy and Matsumoto then successfully infiltrate Mellowfloat. There, they are greeted by M, an AI staff member. They are then taken on a tour around the island. Eventually, the tour ends, and they enter a room where a surprise welcome party for them takes place. All the AI staff members then start singing one of Vivy's songs. She starts to bond with some of these AIs and eventually asks M what it means to put your heart into something. M replies that though he does not understand what heart means exactly, he derives his own satisfaction from serving humans. Unfortunately, just then, Toke helicopters and boats approach the island, and Vivy, despite some hesitation, uploads a virus to avoid conflict. However, rather than shut the AIs down, the virus makes them go berserk. They all end up kamikaze bombing every single Toke attacked craft. With the shocking turn of events, Vivy dives into the ocean and she manages to rescue one survivor, who just happens to be Yugo. While watching everything unfold live, Saiki realizes that his virus failed. He decides to tell Grace that he's going to head to Metal Float. Back at the island, Vivy administers first aid and is able to rescue Yugo and other Toke members. Yugo then angrily asks why she saved him, but she doesn't reply. He then questions her and says that she's Diva, isn't she? He continues on a rant and brings up Elizabeth, calling her a busted AI. This time, Vivy finally replies. She says that Elizabeth wasn't busted at all, as she was concerned about him till the end. Suddenly, berserk AI staff start pouring into the room. Vivy rushes past them and avoids most of the attacks, but she gets caught and gets pinned into a wall. Right before the AI is able to finish her off, she is saved by a shot from Yugo. He tells her to get out of there and watches her leave. Learning that Tatsuya is on the island, Vivy and Matsumoto confront him. He reveals his true motives: to save Grace. It is then shown that while he fell in love with Grace in the original timeline, due to the alterations made to history, she was converted into Metal Float's central core before they could get married. He also reveals that his attendant is merely a replica of Grace. He says that he intends to transfer Grace's consciousness into her once the facility was shut down. But the virus has instead caused the island to go berserk due to it conflicting with Grace's programming. He then brings out his phone and explains that Grace has been singing Vivy's song to him the entire time, alone. Ultimately, despite Tatsuya pleading with Vivy to help him save Grace, Matsumoto assures her that she is already beyond saving. Reluctantly, Vivy resolves to euthanize her to avoid more casualties. Saiki is then shocked by her response. He takes out his gun and commands the Grace replica to attack. Vivy then has to defend herself and destroys the Grace replica, known as K5, in one sweep. Later, out of nowhere, more Matsumotos are created, and the Matsumotos combine into some kind of spacecraft. She then hops on and proceeds to fight her way to the core. At the core, Saiki watches through a monitor and, while in disbelief, sends her the hidden location of Grace. Vivy then finally encounters Grace, and of course, she Superman punches her heart. This shuts Metal Float off once and for all. Afterwards, Saiki and Vivy reunite at an abandoned church. The two exchange words, and once learning that Grace had no final words for her, he decides to enter the afterlife.